Hi, Karen.
Hey, good morning, Connor. How are you?
I'm not too bad, not too bad. Can't complain. How's things with you over in London?
Yeah, not too bad. Looking forward to getting back home, I have to say.
Uh,
Yeah, just for the benefits of everyone on this webinar, I'm originally from Northern Ireland, but I live over in London. So, yeah, looking forward to getting back home for Christmas.
Back to the nice bleak weather.
Yeah, well, I'm used to that. Unfortunately, it's not much better here, if I'm honest.
No, no. Well, not that you can get outside at the minute anyway, but
Well, this is true,
yeah.
but yeah. Well, look, thank you very much for joining us, Connor. This is for the benefit of everyone who's here with us this morning. We're doing a joint webinar between Tilt and ourselves at RentProfile, and this is the first in kind of a series of webinars. So I think today Connor's going to be asking myself a few questions, then I'll be returning the favor with him or Kate at Tilt. And in terms of the format and structure of today, if you do have any questions as we sort of go through this, please by all means list them on the side, and Yona or Amy from RentProfile will flag it to us, let us know, and we'll do our best to answer those questions at the end of the session. Tilt is a partner of ours. We integrate directly into their software, their lettings CRM software. But Connor, maybe you're better to introduce yourself and a little bit about Tilt.
Yeah, so I am one of the business development executives here. You'll meet the other Kit in one of the subsequent webinars. But for the purpose of this, we'll be talking about our Origin software. It's really geared towards the letting agents and the rental sector. And like you said, it's sort of end-to-end management of the CRM side of it. So managing your day-to-day, logging any tenancies you have or some certificates against properties. But we're looking forward to our integration with yourselves at RentProfile.
Terrific. And just for anyone who didn't follow my previous webinar, my name is Curran. I'm the commercial lead at RentProfile. So I manage our agency partnerships and the business development side, which includes working with the guys at Tilt. So yeah, have you got some questions for me, Connor?
Yeah. I will start out nice and easy. Easy into it. So if you wanna just tell us what RentProfile is.
Sure. So RentProfile is a technology company that powers trust and convenience for the rental market. And so what that means, Connor, is two things really. What we're known for is our tenant referencing. So compared to what you would describe as the more legacy companies in this space that are quite analog or manual in their process, our tenant referencing checks are around 5 times faster. So typically around 95% of them will be returned within a 24-hour period. And a lot of the questions that we sort of get asked as a result of that are you kind of doing just a very light touch sort of check? Is it basically an identity check and a credit check? And the answer is no. So we do twice as many checks, get a lot more data off the back of that. And because of that kind of extra nuggets of information, what we start to see is anywhere between 15-20% more tenants are passing, which is good news for the tenants, it's good news for the agents and the business, and helps to speed things along. And then more recently, in the last couple of weeks, we've launched our new product, onboarding, which recently won an award from Visa, and it's really the kind of full pre-tenancy management.
Okay.
So that moment, Connor, right from when a tenant sort of agrees to take the property, we sort of automate the process after that. So everything from agreeing the agency terms, referencing criteria, taking the holding deposit, dynamic AST with custom clauses, maybe there's a garage or parking or bills included, signing of that, uploading the certificates, paying the first month's rent, and with the TDS, we're actually building in an integration to be able to kind of register the tenancy deposit automatically. So for the agent, it really is a no-brainer of just being able to kind of sit back, hit go, and just watch that process be streamlined. They can kind of go win new business.
Absolutely, yeah. But whenever I was researching RentProfile, one of the things that jumped out at me that I'm sure the letting agents would be apprehensive about was the fact that maybe if you're pushing them through this process so quickly that RentProfile can do that, the tests aren't maybe, you know, as in depth, but
Yeah.
you know, absolutely, they're you said they're twice as many checks, or
Right. Yeah.
But the story of how it got, how you sort of came about, so how RentProfile came about, was quite interesting. I caught one of your YouTube videos about the founder. He was subject to a scam, or
That was exactly it. So David, one of the co-founders, had effectively paid for a property, paid over the kind of move-in monies, the rent and deposit, to a landlord that didn't exist. And actually that happens quite often. So what he kind of set around to do, being an engineer, was build a solution that would kind of flip that traditional process, allow you as a tenant to go, I'm going to run some checks on this landlord and actually check, do they own the property? You know, do they have a license? If they need a license, and sort of anti-money laundering checks as well. So that's kind of how RentProfile started, and we won, you know, we have a Gov UK showcase on that, working with companies to do it, and it really expanded from there, using the same kind of, okay, what's the approach that we can take, you know, if we were to start this process again with tenant referencing.
yeah.
And that's really what happened, and that's why it's kind of different, because it's been built from the ground up.
Exactly, it's sort of been built from a problem that wasn't being solved, but
yeah,
no, it's very interesting. But sort of, you know, everyone's talking about this, you know, new normal, and you know, maybe many people aren't talking about the rental sector. But sort of, what do you think the, you know, the real initial and current problems are with the rental sector, brought about by the coronavirus and the lockdown?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think the initial problem certainly was the uncertainty. I mean, nobody knew what kind of results, what this would mean, sort of short term and longer term, and everybody had to adapt very, very quickly. I think there was this sort of sudden shift to remote working, and that means remote viewings as well, or video viewings, and remote tenancy progression as well. And I think that's, you know, it's a pretty large adjustment for any industry, but it's a particular shock to one that relies so much on kind of face-to-face communication and business dealings. And I think as that settled slightly, the dust settled, and certainly second lockdown, you know, offices have been able to open slightly. I think what we're beginning to see is the ramifications of COVID a little bit, which is more and more renters leaving for the suburbs, for the satellite towns. I mean, I've had that conversation with my girlfriend. We're weighing it up about whether we stay in London. And that sort of in particular raises questions, I think, for the build to rent sector, because so many of them are kind of concentrated in the major cities. But with the news of a vaccine recently, the question in my mind is whether that trend kind of reverses. So what are we going to start to see more tenants kind of move back to the city when, you know, if you take somewhere like London, where such an important part of it is the culture and the amenities and the nightlife, in my view, you're probably going to see more of those kind of young, diverse, entrepreneurially minded demographic. They're going to come back again. So I think that letting agents now have been kind of thrust into very much into the remote working side. Some have kind of had the processes in place to do that, and others I think are increasingly having to adapt at quite a pace. And you probably find the same.
No, absolutely. And it's almost beneficial for the ones like us in the prop tech industry, that we can provide these solutions to people. And like yourself, it's people have realized that prop tech is quite important, and why not take these processes that you've built forward into the post new normal maybe. But no, absolutely, I agree with everything you said. Have you, just moving on from that, do you think that prop tech has helped the letting agents adapt to the new normal? How has it helped them adapt? Or
undoubtedly it has. I mean, from any aspect of it, Conor, right from using Vuber, to kind of outsource your viewings, through the whole tenancy progression piece, right through to companies like the Depository, which is automating that kind of backwards and forwards of deposit disputes and returns. I think it really has changed the process a lot. So a lot of agents were using maybe one or two bits of prop tech to kind of enhance a little part of their process, and now are looking more at solutions like that tie that up.
Yeah.
sort of tie the process together, link to their CRM, and
Mhm.
allow them to kind of have a single source of truth.
Yeah.
But absolutely, the kind of take up and the interest certainly that we're seeing has skyrocketed.
No, again, I was reading something a few days ago, and now I must admit that this was provided by a company that specialize in remote viewing, so they may be a bit biased, but they imagined that in a few years, by I think they said 2025, that physical viewings would be a thing of the past. But it's just, it's one little, like you said, it's one little detail of how coronavirus has shifted the whole sort of, the operation of the letting agents, and how this is going to change their processes going forward, not just now.
Yeah.
But saying that, a lot of people, when they take up this new technology, I know myself, whenever I was taking up Zoom at the start, I cursed it, and I couldn't get my head around it, and it was a lot longer. It took me a lot longer to get my head around it than I care to admit. But
Yeah.
what's your sort of your client feedback been so far? And do you think now that people have had a chance to use this through one lockdown and then maybe another lockdown, that their perception of prop tech has changed any? Or
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the one thing I've noticed is when we're sort of doing demos to new clients, they know what Zoom is,
Yeah.
which a year ago wasn't the case. They're going, "What's this kind of remote demo software?" Now everybody knows it, and they're teaching me things. So I think everybody's had to adapt, as you say, for better or for worse.
Mhm.
But I suppose from the agent side, we're just seeing everybody's a bit more receptive now.
Yeah.
And I think things that had previously been sort of in the in tray
Mhm.
and not necessarily a priority right now have suddenly been kind of pushed to the top.
Yeah.
But I also think agents are quite savvy, so they're not just kind of jumping into bed with tech or whoever does a hard sell to them. They're sort of looking at the options, and as you say, there are plenty of them.
Mhm.
It's just really finding which ones sort of are there for the speed, the efficiency, and kind of tie up with their existing process, because nobody wants to sort of tear up the process. They just want to make it more streamlined. So yeah, we're seeing a big take up. I think that's going to continue, and I think more and more agents, as soon as you try something, as soon as you kind of give it a trial, then actually you stick with it.
Mhm. Well, no, well, especially if it can help you going forward. There's a difference between sort of surviving during this lockdown and picking up something that will help you get through it, and then every so often you're going to pick up something that you think to yourself, why not take this forward? This has made things so much better for me, so much better for the business, and it is going to help. Like, not to go back to the stats, but you said that your tests have increased approval rating by 20%. That can't be anything but positive for the agent, and the fact that it speeds up the whole sort of onboarding side of things is just another added benefit. So every so often you will pick up something that you will keep on, and
this bit. And you want to be thriving, not just surviving. And I think a lot of this software can sort of help you do that. I mean, we're seeing some of the agents that are getting in touch with us now, they're referencing is taking up to a week in some cases. Now, by definition, a tenant can't move into the property. The landlord wants to confirm, that they can afford it and they are who they say they are. So this is just helping avoid periods as well.
Yeah.
So it is one of those things. I think you get a bit hooked once you try some of these software.
No, but I agree. The whole time saving aspect of it is massive now, especially in the rental market. The way things have gone, everyone wants things immediately, and the whole sort of tenancy onboarding was maybe something that people just accepted. Long delays in the past, but there's no reason to sort of deal with that, is there? If something can fix that and it does the job, great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're getting that attitude. So yeah.
No, it's great. This question might be a bit harder. I'm going to have to ask you to look into your crystal ball here. So what would be your predictions for the lettings market? You touched on a few points that you think people will come back into London and it will return. But have you any sort of great one?
Yeah, it is very difficult to say now. I think it really depends on how quickly the vaccine's rolled out. But I suppose my longer term prediction and what we're starting to see with a couple of our agents is that, look, an agent who might have been based in, say, you know, where I am in Walthamstow in East London,
Mm-hmm.
normally would have served that area and maybe a couple of postcodes around it. You're not really seeing that anymore. Those agents are going, well, where is the business? And it might be a little further out in sort of Chingford or other areas around London. And because of PropTech, they're able to serve that a bit more efficiently, not just on the letting side and the remote viewings, for example, but even with property management and maintenance. So I think what you're probably going to see more of, whether or not my prediction is right and tenants do kind of not quite flood back into London, but maybe the flood out stops, I think more agents are going to be able to serve kind of a wider geographic, and that can only be a good thing. Local knowledge in the local area, I think, is really, really important and really crucial. But having the tools to be able to sort of expand that a bit is good for business, in my view. So I think you're going to see a lot more of that. Whether or not there's more consolidation in the industry, I mean, I think Countrywide turned around and told Connells no about them merging, but I think other agencies that are again serving a region might look to consolidate as well.
Yeah. No, it's a good point, and everyone, harps on about the world getting smaller through, the interconnectivity of the technology. But again, the letting agents and the rental market is something that was maybe, it's based on sort of a lot of tacit knowledge that a lot of it is in people's heads, and they don't look out. And this technology has then sort of allowed them to broaden their horizons, and you don't have to be there almost physically. As the world has turned sort of virtual, and we're able to have this meeting now where maybe in the past one of us would have had to go to London. It does allow people to broaden their horizons and move out of their not comfort zone, but they're almost their known zone. The place right in front of their eyes. But that's a good prediction.
I think so. I think those skills, as you say, the ones that are really useful and where an agent adds value, those are kind of applicable across any geography.
Yeah.
It's really just more on the admin side, or like, how would I know a contractor, in that postcode or in that area? And if tech can give you the ability to do that, but you're kind of freed up to give that service and that expertise, it's a big opportunity in my view.
No, I agree. Yeah, completely. If you can find a technology that allows you to leverage your skills and to apply them in areas that your skills are most valuable, writing up contracts and pushing a tenant through the onboarding process, it's not exactly what sets a good letting agent apart from maybe an average letting agent. And if we can give these letting agents the ability to really shine and use their skills in the area that sets them apart and helps them grow, then all the good for it.
Absolutely, we agree on that.
Yeah, I think it's
terrific,
very beneficial.
Well, did you have any other questions for me, Conor, or should we put it out to the audience?
Yeah, I think they'll be able to think of some better ones than me. I've used up all my my bank of questions now.
No worries. All right, well, I'll switch the camera off here and I'll check and see what we've got.
No problem. Good to talk to you.
And you too.